Well, chapter 92 was very interesting. Fairy Tail 100-year quest. You really had to introduce another god dragon? I mean, seriously, we already had our hands full with 5, but you give us a 6th one? Like, really? And also, you've introduced all of the dragon knights, and this is the way you introduce them? By making them show up at a place where the 6th god dragon is technically sealed. Like, Hiro Mashima, what else are you gonna give us? What else are you gonna give us in this? Because you really have blown our minds with this latest chapter. Hey guys, what is going on? It is Gear and here, and in today's video we are gonna be reviewing Fairy Tail 100-year quest chapter 92, The Great Labyrinth. Sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoyed this video because, like I said, there's a lot of spoilers ahead for the Fairy Tail 100-year quest, and this has really just blown my mind yet again on how big Hiro Mashima can think for Fairy Tail 100-year quest. So without further ado, let's get right into our review, okay? So the first page is Juvia, of course, adoring Grey, and like posters, toys. Yeah, that's sort of like her wall, you could say. So that's just classic Juvia. Again, it's not as bad as last week's or the weeks before, where I used to show this buff Lucy, but this is quite nice. Nice work. Okay, so it begins off with giving a little history about the Magia Guild. So the Wizard Guild, the Magia Dragon, that was our starting point on the southern part of Giratina, the first and oldest wizard guild in the world. Apparently, over 100 years ago, it was founded to unite and protect wizards against persecutions. That does make sense because probably back in those days, wizards or anything that uses like magical powers was probably not really liked back then. So people probably did kill a lot of wizards back then just because they didn't like them or they just didn't think that their powers were good. But now that the guilds were formed, that was sort of like a protection. So right now, you're getting a little bit of a history lesson, so pay attention everyone. As time passed, wizard guilds of all kinds started to appearing all over the world. That includes us. Fairy Tail. The founder of Magia Dragon, Elsphiria, lived at the guild all by himself. He entrusted us with the 100 years quest, but we came back to the Magia Dragon to give him a report on our progress. Wow. So it looks like the crew have had no issues returning back to Elsphiria and the Magia Dragon Guild, and right now it looks like they are just giving him an update. So yeah, right now it seems standard, you know, just a normal process and everything of a Fairy Tail 100-year quest, and nothing really too much happening, you know. So now let's go back in here. Okay, so it looks like the crew have actually come back, and it looks like, yeah, so previously at the beginning of Fairy Tail 100-year quest, there were these really thick ether nanoparticles that look like snow, and it looks like now that the crew are still seeing those, and they're just thinking, what does the old man do anyway? Because he's by himself. He's literally alone in the Magia Dragon Guild, the first ever guild created. So what does he do? So of course, Natsu has been the one that's saying, yo, it's been a while. And the guy, Elsphiria, he's just looking at this giant tablet, which is very weird because Happy, of course, is a little bit curious about it, but it's a little weird. Why is he looking at such a large tablet? Well, in the next panel, everyone asks, what's wrong, old man? Are you not feeling well? And then he says, look here. This is a tablet modeled after the 5 god dragons. Now that is quite interesting because then he goes on to explain that the water god dragon Megphobia and the wood god dragon Alderon have both been sealed. And they're a little bit shocked because he knows that through just a tablet, because that tablet looks centuries years old, and the fact that he's able to know that the water god dragon and the wood god dragon have been sealed, that is a little bit interesting. But also a little bit mysterious because why does he have a tablet that shows when a god dragon has been sealed? What is the ultimate objective of the tablet besides just finding out if a god dragon has been sealed? Maybe another seal on top of it? Maybe. But yeah, on the next panel what happens is, it says over here, for the first time in 100 years, those who have defeated any of the god dragons have appeared. 2 dragons at that. So he's of course grateful that the crew have actually sealed 2 out of the 5 god dragons. Happy is saying like, it's just like we said, you can leave it to us. And Charlotte says, did we really say that? And then Lucy and Els go on saying, to tell you the truth, Megphobia turned out to be a good guy, and we only defeated Alderon with the combined efforts of our guild. So yeah, so they're just saying that it's not really like all up to them because they weren't the ones that solely sealed the god dragons. They did have help from other people, and Megphobia, the water god dragon, he was a nice guy too, so they just have been like modest, and he's just saying, no matter the reason, 2 of the god dragons have been sealed. That is praiseworthy achievement. I knew I could depend on you. And then they just go to sitting on a table. So now it looks like everyone's just sitting down, eating up and just resting up now. And then they just start to talk about saying, I see, so then the only one managed to drive away was Celine. No, the one who drove away was that stupid samurai. Yes, Suzaku. So then they just go on to talk about that samurai, like saying that infuriating samurai. He was powerful beyond reason. Samurai? He was from this guild called Diablos. And now we are going to get some shocking news because it looks like Elsphiria knows him. He actually says Suzaku. And he says, well, it's one of the Guillotina's current wizard guilds, that Diablos. Whoa, I had no idea those guys had such a famous guild. So it looks like Elsphiria has had a run-in with the guild Diablos. And Happy asks, are they really a dark guild? Where Elsphiria says, no, Diablos is a fully fledged official guild. While it's true that Master George's behaviour is deplorable, their jobs have not violated any laws either. So they seem like an official wizard guild, which is quite interesting because they do look like bad guys. So yeah, they're just an official wizard guild, so they're not a dark guild. And then Charlotte asks something a little bit interesting. She says, but it's strange, they act as though hunting dragons is their job. A guild for hunting Guillotina's dragons. Could it be that a guild that exists to accomplish this 100-year quest? So she's asking, was a Diablos guild created solely to complete the 100-year quest and seal all of the 5 god dragons? Which is a good question to ask. Which Elsphiria goes on to say that that's true, you didn't request the Diablos guild with a 100-year quest, did you? And Elsphiria actually says, I did. It was several years ago, that George. But Diablos didn't even exist back then. What do you mean? So he said, Diablos was a guild created in the wake of the 100-year quest. So then he goes on to say, George killed the surviving dragons except for the 5 god dragons and consumed their flesh. Eventually he came to be known as a dragon eater. So now we're getting a little bit of history about the Diablos guild as well. So then it says, it was then that people began to gather around him, and thus the wizard guild, Diablos, was born. So then the crew just start to ask, so that's how they knew about the 5 god dragons. But that doesn't go against not telling anyone the details of the 100-year quests. Indeed it does, because if you remember, Elsphiria had them sign a little bit of like an official document saying they can't really tell anyone else about the 100-year quests, because if they do then they'll just get into some legal implications. So yeah, it looks like the guild technically hasn't actually done that yet. So they go on to say, thus the request was annulled and the rights were passed to another guild. In that case, isn't it illegal for him to go and after the 5 god dragons? Yes, that's what concerns me. And then in the next panel we get, at present the official rights belong to you. It pains me to tell you this, but if it's to seal the 5 god dragons, I have decided to leave Diablos alone in this matter. So it looks like even though the Diablos guild are a bad guild, even though they are illegally doing the job, if they can get the job done, he really doesn't matter. All he wants is the 5 god dragons to be sealed. So yeah, a little bit interesting because we're knowing what type of person Elsphiria is. Like he's very desperate to get this job done, and really he just wants it to be done by anyone. If they can do it, let them do it. Even if it's illegal, if they get the job done, then there's no complaints from him. What an interesting guy. And then Natsu goes on to saying, what the hell, man? Isn't that a double standard? You're looking down on us. But then Erza does something that Erza always does. He says, calm down. If that's how our client feels, then we must show our understanding. Then she goes on to say, there's no helping that our goal of stealing calamitous dragons is the same as theirs. But if they oppose our guild, then that's a different story. I will not tolerate anyone who dares to threaten my allies. What a Erza thing to say, and it's a really, really good moment for her because she's just being Erza, doing her own thing and saying her own thing. And Natsu and Lucy, well, everyone else agrees, saying, you said it. If they get in our way again, we'll kick their asses this time. And then Elsphiria again a little bit worried, saying, you kids, you do know the magic world has an inter-guild conflict ban treaty, right? Which they already knew about because they knew about that from episode 1. So yeah, I wouldn't go too much into that Elsphiria. They already know about it, so you don't need to worry about it. So then Erza goes, well, in a little bit of an angry manner, saying, if you're going to bring that up, shouldn't you be punishing Diablos for starting the conflict in the first place? And then Wendy tries to calm down Erza by saying, Erza-san, please calm down. And then Elsphiria says, you are quite right. And then he goes, yeah, he does something interesting, which I'm just going to show on the screen. I'm not going to say too much about it. Natsu then puts his hand there saying, "You jerk, where do you think you're slipping in between?" And then Lucy asks, "Where do you think you're slipping in between, Natsu?" And Elsphere just gives off a little bit of a chuckle. Then Grey asks, "We get where you're coming from, we just want you to get what we're saying." Which is that, fine, they can do the guild, they can do also the job even as a client's request, but if they get in the way of our allies, if they start creating conflict and start fighting our allies, we will not hesitate to fight back. That is what they're saying. And then Elsphere says, "I'm going to turn a blind eye to that. They really should get going," he mutters. And then the clock starts to ding. So what does that mean? Well, Elsphere says, "Oh my, that is the time already. Hikage should be coming any moment now." And Erza asks, "Hikage?" So Elsphere goes on to say, "Living alone is difficult for a man at my age. He's someone who looks after my surroundings for me." So then he goes on to say, "Right now he went out shopping for me, but he's always come back at this hour. I'd like him to introduce you to him." So it looks like a little bird comes flying out the window, and in the next panel it's a little bird which is carrying like this shopping bag, and the bird just keeps saying, "Emergency, emergency." And then he says, "Oh, Hikage, I just got your report. A crow? It talks." So yeah, everyone's shocked about a talking crow, but the crow is not saying anything. It's just going around in circles saying, "Emergency, emergency." And then in the next part it says, "Elsphere-sama, this is really bad. There's intruders in the Great Labyrinth." What? What is the Great Labyrinth? Because in the next panel you can tell he is really worried about that, because the Great Labyrinth is an interesting place, because as we're going to find out, something shocking is about to be revealed. So then Wendy asks, "The Great Labyrinth? What's that?" "Oh, you have guessed. Allow me to introduce myself. I am known as Hikage, the Traveling Crow." So it seems like a nice crow, and he says, "I met Elsphere while traveling east to west in search for money 5 years ago." But then Elsphere says, "Hikage, now's not the time for reminiscences. Who in the world is in the Great Labyrinth?" And Hikage reveals it's Diablos. And then everyone's a little bit shocked about that, and they are also saying, "What's more, the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights are with them. They're practically at full power." And then it goes back to the Guild Diablos. They're saying, "The Moon God Dragon desires Elsphere, does she not? There's no mistake in it. But first things first, seems like we need whatever's in the Great Labyrinth. Well, this is our first job from the new master, so let's give it our best." Children are so quick to adapt, aren't they? Agreed. So this is the official 4 Dragon Knights who are like the top 4 Dragon Slayers at the Guild Diablos. And right now, they don't look as menacing as you would think, but they are the top. They are the top Dragon Slayers in the Guild Diablos, and they are literally at equal power or even greater than Suzaku, so you can't really just take them by appearances. You have to see what they hold in battle. So then one of them says, "I can get behind Celine's goal, beat the 5 god dragons, make a world of humans. Doesn't that sound good?" And then they go on to say, "Our master's a dragon, how cool is that? Well, that's not so bad, I suppose." And Suzaku, of course, he knows what Celine is, so yeah, he's just not going to say anything about that. So then Erza says, "What is this Great Labyrinth, and why is the Diablos here?" And then Elsphere said with a worried face, "This is very, very bad. Emergency, emergency," Hikage says. That is where, and hold on to your seat, because this is going to shock you, the 6th of the 5 dragon gods slumbers. So there is another god dragon that has been, let's just say, hidden to us, and it is literally slumbering at the Great Labyrinth, and it has been revealed that that is the 6th god dragon. Now, why wasn't this mentioned before, and who on earth is this 6th god dragon? What is it, and why has it made Elsphere so worried and so shocked? Well, hopefully we'll find out in the next chapter, but you guys let me know down below, what did you think of Fatal 100 Quest Chapter 92? Are you hyped that we are going to see another god dragon? Because I know I am. But you guys let me know down below what you guys think of it, and trust me, it's going to be a very, very interesting ride, because Hiro Mashima has thrown another curveball at us, so we're just going to have to catch it as best as we can. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so you can be part of the awesome community that we have on this channel. Thank you guys for watching this video, take care, and peace.